Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our live virtual classes of ICAI BOS. So, students, today we are starting with a very important subject, important from all perspectives. First, from the perspective of exams, as it is an independent subject carrying independently the subject marks, 100 marks. Secondly, if you look at the domain of practice that we as chartered accountants are engaging into, you will find that this is a very unique, novel, and a very highly rewarding domain. We shall be discussing about this as we progress with the subject. But yes, in the meantime, good morning, Niharika Kumari. Good morning, Rajveer. Yes. So, everybody, welcome to this subject of what? I want you all to respond to me by mentioning in the chat box what is this subject. Yes, Nidhi, nice to see known names. Good morning, Anup. Shashank, good morning. Manav, good morning. Yes, students, now we'll have some discussion as the best approach to study. See, if you want the subject to become easy for you, the subject to become interesting for you, let us now start having a discussion oriented format. Very important is what you are saying. It may not be correct, but that is all okay because still you are a student. And as a student, you have all the rights to be wrong. In fact, this is your last chance to be wrong. So let us have a discussion. So Rajveer has come up with an answer. Okay. Yes, Pooja, good morning. Good morning, Harsh. Himanshi, good morning. Kiran, good morning. Gunjan, good morning. Santosh has given me an answer. Okay. So my question to you all student is, what are we going to start today with subject? What is the name of our subject? What am I supposed to teach you? Give me the subject name, not the chapter name, because in order to understand, we have to first understand what we are going to study. Then we'll understand the topic in particular. Great. So I have a lively batch. Okay, so some are saying cost and management accounting. Okay, rather many are saying cost and management accounting. Anup also gives me a short form, which is CMA. Excellent. Somebody has said cost and management A/C. Okay, so accounting only, I suppose, or is it accountancy? Yes, Harsh, good morning. Good morning, Medha. Good morning, Kinari. Okay, okay. Krishna says it is accountancy. Good morning, Ishwarya. Good morning, Aisha. Okay, perfect. So I have got the first name, which is abbreviated by many as CMA, and even the long form is given to me. So we start our deliberation from this point itself. So people are saying, sir, our subject is CMA, which is cost and management. And then there is slight confusion, I suppose, because some are saying accountancy and many are saying accounting. Okay, that will resolve today. But I have a doubt. When I talk about this subject, and I'm sure this is not only my doubt, this is your point also. I refer to this subject as costing. Correct? Now, I have multiple questions in my mind. See, I'm thinking like you. Firstly, what is costing? Secondly, whether cost and management accounting is costing, or are these two different? What is cost and management accountancy, or is it same with costing? Is it same with cost and management accounting? So I have these multiple questions, and this is what we will try to explore the answer alongside all of you all. Okay, Anup has given me an interesting equation. So Anup supposed to have a good mathematics flavor. He writes like this: cost plus management. What he has written, accounting. Good. So he gives me another flavor. He says, sir, it is cost plus management accounting. Great. My question is the subject only costing, or is it different like cost and management accounting? Now, see, when you write like this, I put it in a different fashion. So, like how you open the bracket in maths. So, it is cost accounting plus it is management accounting, right? So, is it this, or is it only cost and the accounting is for management? So, out of this, what exactly is the subject? Now, why it is very important, students? Because now, see, today I'll also give you an approach to studying. I'm sure till this date, at whatever level you studied, right from your school until college, until this professional course, and if anybody of you have already done some other courses, I'm sure your approach would be that some teacher would come. Nowadays, it may be online, offline, it may be a chatbot, whatever. That teacher will first tell you something, and only then you will be able to understand it. But now we have to change the methodology. My first advice to you would be that at professional level, let us try to follow this. What do I mean by self-help? This is what was taught to me by my teacher, and this is what I want to pass on as a legacy because it has helped me a lot. Now, I qualified in the year 2002. I started my CA course in the year 98. And since 98, you can say, till the time I got introduced to our beautiful course, till date, now it is nearing 30 years, I have realized the importance of this approach. So, what is this self help approach? My teacher used to always tell me, Ki Vishal, whenever you are studying, especially at the higher level, first you should have your own understanding of the subject. What it means? It means that you should first explore and read the subject. Now you will say, sir, but how we will understand? That is what is the most important point. It is not necessary that you will understand it at the first go. See, that will happen even in the first case. When somebody is teaching you, there is a very good possibility that you may not understand. Rather, there is a worse possibility that you may understand something different than what actually the person is trying to communicate. But the approach which I'm talking about is self-help approach, where you need to first explore the subject. You need to first read the subject. Now, what do I mean by explore? Explore simply is asking the WH questions, which is why and how, and then reading to get the answer for the other WH questions, that is what. So, most important is you should first explore the subject, and I'll try to inculcate this through this entire batch. And since I'm given the very first topic, as usual, I'll try to sow the seeds from this point itself. How am I exploring? I'm exploring right starting from the name of the subject. Because until and unless you understand what the subject is about, how will you understand what is in the subject and how will you know why you are studying that? See, we normally focus on these two things more, what and how. That is very important. But if you really want to become expert, which we are supposed to be, which we are supposed to become, then your answers should revolve around this. So let us try to explore the subject, and by default, you will definitely learn this. Okay, very good. The batch is super. People are giving me some very good insights about this self-help concept. That's great. So let us start exploring the subject, and please apply this logic to every subject. Apply this approach to every subject. You will have wonderful results. Fine. So let us start. So my first exploration starts with the name of the subject itself. Firstly, I'm sure many of you all would have heard people addressing this subject as costing. In fact, whenever you talk about the syllabus, and if you are speaking to your seniors or if you are speaking to any learned person from this fraternity, any chartered accountant, the person will always address this subject as, okay, one of the subject is costing. And then the person may share whatever experience he or she has about the subject. So I'm sure everybody of you all have come across this word costing. Now, my question, which I'm exploring in my mind is, I'm asking the WH question, especially this question. Why plus what? And then later on, how? How is the last step you should go? So I'm asking the WH question, what is costing? What is cost accounting? What is management accounting? And are they same? Are they different? Are they interconnected? And so on. Chalo. I will ask you all to first work on the independent answers. Then we'll try to see if they are same, if they are different. So try giving me this answer. I want this answer. What is costing according to you? Okay, Anup has already given me. So I think Anup is reading my mind. He knows what I'm going to come up with. So Anup has given me an answer. Okay, great. I have Shashank. Okay. Yes, Shashank, you are correct. Ishwarya says correct, Ishwarya. Himanshi. Okay. Santosh. Good. Krishna. Okay. Perfect. Niharika. Good. Rajveer. Okay. ठीक है. Rajveer will come back to this point. Gunjan. Good. Okay. Aisha. But is it costing or is it cost accounting? What you have said. Hina Kumari. Good. Rinky. Okay. Perfect. Aditi. Super. Okay. Good. Nidhi. Perfect. Shashank. Okay. Kinari. Right. Now, now, no answers for 2 minutes because I have to continuously swap between chat and this. How I read this for the first time. I always try to start with dictionary and something in grammar. Why? Because this is how you can understand any subject or anything when you are reading it in English. Now, in English, when we use this word ing, so like study, and you add ing, eat, and you add ing, it means something. So to any verb, now these are all verbs, when you add this ing, there is something very important. It means that you are now talking about the process. So when I'm reading ing in any word, definitely what we are meaning is that there is a process. So when I'm reading about costing and I want to understand what is costing, so one thing I know, costing is some process. Now, process of doing what? So when it is a process, it is for doing something. So costing is process of, I will say, knowing cost. In simple words, I'm not yet using the technical jargons. We'll come to the technical jargons. In fact, from basic to technical, we will reach by the end of this class, and that is how the subject will actually get absorbed. Similarly, when I'm talking about cost accounting, again, I'm talking about a process of, okay, I'll put it in very simple terms of doing accounting of cost. I'm putting in very layman language, students. We will slowly evolve to the definition. So when I'm reading it like this, that what is costing? Costing is the process by which you know the cost, you find out the cost, you calculate the cost. But when we talk about cost accounting, there is a slight difference. Cost accounting is again a process, but it is a process of doing accounting of the same cost. Correct? Means there is slight difference between the two. So costing is the process by which you will come to know how much is your cost. You will calculate, you will find out. Whereas when you are talking about cost accounting, in this process, you will do accounting. Now, what is accounting? Again, accounting is a process, and I'm sure you all recall your standard 11. It says accounting is the process which starts with recording, and then there is analyzing, summarizing, etc., etc., and it ends with reporting. Yes, Mr. Thakur Arun Bhai. Uh, I don't know whether I can unmute you or not. I'm unable to unmute, Bida. Sir, I've done that. I've done that. Done. Done. He's unmuted. Yes. Bida, firstly, what is your name? Bida, you are unmuted. Thakur Arun Bhai, you are unmuted. I think it is by mistake. Okay, fine. Now, students, pay attention. So, when we are talking about cost accounting, again, it is a process. It is a process of doing accounting of cost. And what is accounting? We studied this in standard 11. So, again, accounting is a process of doing what? Of recording, analyzing, classifying, summarizing, and it ends with reporting. Now, the difference is what you studied in standard 11, which we called as in simple the subject of accounts. It is actually not accounts, it is financial accounting. Correct? Because we have multiple accountings, like here you are studying cost accounting. And now you will relate it with the definition of accounts which you studied at 11, where it was relating to only monetary transactions, and that is why the name is financial. So here you are going to do the same accounting process which starts with recording, ends with reporting, but for cost data. So when you do the same accounting, now what is recording in accounting? It is a journal entry. What is classifying in accounting? It is classifying whether it is capital, revenue. Then what is summarizing? Summarizing is when you put it in different ledgers, like all these entries are summarized in purchase ledger, These are summarized in sales. These are summarized in bank. These are summarized in other. And then finally, the ledger postings. All this is the accounting steps which we have actually done from standard 11 and also studied as the definition of accounting. But that was only for the financial data. Now, when you are talking about cost accounting, it is about the cost data for which you do recording, classifying, analyzing, summarizing, and it will end with preparing the reports of cost, like how you prepared the reports in financial accounts, which was trial balance, which was your trading account, P&L account, etc. So here our process of cost accounting will end with preparation of reports of the cost data. Now comes the interesting point. So both we have decoded. So costing is knowing, ascertaining, which is a technical word, or in simple words, calculating or finding out the cost. Whereas cost accounting is accounting of this cost. Now the most important point. Are they same or are they different? Because the name of the subject as per your institute records is cost accounting. Obviously, there is management accounting. We'll talk about that later. But everybody addresses it as costing. So, is there a difference? And if there is a difference, then are they connected? So, I've got the first answer from Krishna saying that they are different. Costing and cost accounting are different. Excellent, Krishna. So, if they are different, which one comes first? Because see, if they are different, then we will have multiple other questions. But I'm not concluding, it is different. You can have a different answer, students. So Pratiksha says, okay, so Pratiksha also believes it is different and she says costing comes first. Himanshi also says the same. Gunjan, same. Rajveer, same. Okay. Medha says the same. Okay. Niharika, super. Nidhi, Harsh, excellent. Fine. Bapi Mondal also says it is different. Perfect. Students, it is different. And yes, logically, costing will come first. Why? Because when we are talking about accounting, for doing accounting, you should first know cost. And for knowing cost, for finding out cost, you do costing. So definitely, costing will come first and it will result in cost accounting. But interestingly, next time, when you are doing costing, this cost accounting will become basis for doing the costing. It means this is going to be a cyclical process. You do costing, you find out cost. Now you start recording, reporting, etc. the cost. So you prepare cost reports. Now next time when you will be doing costing, the same cost reports will provide you a basis, will provide you a guideline for doing the costing again. So it is a cyclical process. How? Let us understand. For this, let us now start understanding costing in detail. So costing, as we discussed and formatted, it is what? It is the process of, now I'm using the technical word, ascertaining cost. So what I use the word finding out, knowing. Now it has been substituted by a technical word. So it is what? It is the process of knowing your cost. It is the process of finding out or calculating your cost. Now here referred as it is the process of ascertaining cost. Now, what is this costing? Let us try to understand. And while understanding this, we will understand how they are interrelated, how costing and cost accounting is cyclical. Now, understand this, the subject name is cost and management accounting, which means cost accounting and management accounting. And yes, costing is very much part of this cost accounting, but it is something more. So, our subject, which we are going to study, is costing also, plus the accounting part of this costing. So by default, in cost accounting, we will be studying the entire costing part and then also doing the accounting part. Now, let me give you the real feel of this subject. How do we get the feel? We will actually do costing right today in this first lecture itself. Now, my first question to y'all, have you all done costing anytime before? You can simply write Y for yes and for no. Have you all done costing anytime before? Okay, Harini says yes. Wow. Harini, let me know when. Gunjan says yes. Whoever says yes, please let me know when or what costing you have done. Whoever says yes, also mention what is okay. Shwarya says at college. How? So whoever says yes, give me your example of what you did or when you did costing. Oh, many people are saying this. I thought it would be the other way around. नहीं, become, oh, acha. So in studying, नहीं, I'm not saying studying. Students, when I'm saying have you done costing before, I'm talking about real life costing, not as a studying. Because as studying, I don't know what you did in costing. Okay, Imanshi. Okay, Krishna. Don't worry. Now this will be done. Okay, ठीक है. Let's see. So super, Shashank. Good to know this. Chalo. So whether you all have done costing or not, let us do it now. Now, firstly, let me tell you. See, when you are studying different subjects, there is a subject of accounts, there is a subject of tax, there is a subject of audit, there is a subject of law. And then you have subjects of costing, I'm just putting it in short, and you have the subject of financial management. Students, let me tell you, these two subjects have evolved from practice. That is, people were actually doing this in the real business world, and then they became a subject, that is, they got converted into theory. Whereas when we are talking about this, it first started with the theory, which is also called as standards, and in case of tax and law, it is also the law. So here, first there is a law, there is a standard, and then you actually do it in practice. So here by default, you should first know the law, you should first know the rules, you should first know the standards, and then you implement. Whereas in case of subjects of cost and FM, over decades, people actually were doing this in their business, and then it was converted into a subject and it was made into a theory like what we are going to study now. So since it has come from practical, let us we also go to practical. Now, when we are talking about this subject or this concept of costing, which we have just concluded means what? Means ascertaining cost, knowing cost, or finding out cost, right? So let us do it. Now, firstly, when we are talking about cost, cost is what? Cost is the expenses, right? I'm sure nobody has a doubt about this. So when we are saying we are going to find out cost, we are going to calculate cost, we are referring to the expenses. Now comes the most important part, that is doing costing. But whenever you have to do costing, you say, okay, let us do costing. Fine. So let us do costing means let us ascertain and let us calculate how much expense is incurred for. This is most important. Whenever you say, okay, let us do costing, the first question will come, costing of what? You want to do costing of what? This what is technically called as, now pay attention, pay attention. So when we have to do costing, you say, okay, chalo sir, we'll do costing. The first question that should be answered is costing of what? Obviously, it will be some product as rightly mentioned by some. It may be, now your product may be what? It may be either some commodity, that is what we call as goods, or it may be the services that you are giving. Like as a professional, I'm giving my services. So my service is my product. So whatever is my product, I can do costing, or even any activity which I am undertaking. Like I'll give you some real life examples where y'all would have done costing. First, y'all are planning a trip with your family, with your friends. There you have done costing. You have ascertained, you have calculated the cost, means the expense that you are going to incur for this activity, which is your trip. You had any event in your family, you were planning any birthday party for your parents, for your friends. Again, what you did was you actually ascertained how much expense would be incurred. What you did practically was costing. That's why I'm saying cost and FMR subjects, which you'll do in practice. Even before I'm teaching you, you all know costing because you'll have practically experienced it. Now we'll do it again with a more detailed format so that we can reach to the technical outcome of costing, which is cost sheet. What is that? We'll come to that later. First, let us start this activity. So whenever you have to do costing, the first question should come is costing of what? Obviously, it is either your product, which may be a commodity, which may be a service, or of any activity. This thing of which you are doing costing of is technically referred to as your cost object. So the product for which costing is to be done, the service for which costing is to be done is the cost object. Now, when we are doing costing, and again you would have done this, you take a piece of paper on which you start writing down the expenses. You start putting the amount, you make a total to find out what is the total cost. This is exactly the process of costing, and the piece of paper on which you have written these expenses and made a total is what is technically called as the cost sheet. Students, don't look at any theory. Let us connect with the subject practically. And that is why I'm giving you the experience of what you have done. I'm just rewinding it. So you would have definitely taken a piece of paper, written down the names of the expenses, estimated the amount. This is very important. Mark my words, estimated the amount and did a total. That's it. This was costing. But when you did this, the first thing was costing of what? It could be your trip, it could be some party, right? So that is the cost object. Now we will do the same thing again. But in order to understand many technical aspects, we will take a very important example. So again, I'm asking you to prepare a cost sheet. Now this I want you all to be doing actually in your notebooks. I'm sure now you'll have understood why we are calling it as cost sheet, because it is done in on a piece of paper, like how you prepare balance sheet, which is not done in ledger. It is not part of ledger. It is not part of books of accounts. Rather, it is on a piece of paper. You write down all the balances. Hence, it is a balance sheet. Similarly, for costing also, see, cost accounting is different. Cost accounting you'll be doing in the books of accounts. We'll be preparing proper books that we are going to study over a period of this batch. But firstly, the end result of costing is knowing the cost, is finding out the cost, this amount. And for doing this, the report that you are preparing is done on a piece of paper. So I will now request that whatever are your notebooks that you would have prepared for this subject, the very first page should have this, our today's example, real life example. Now, I'm giving you something to do the costing of. What is this something? This something is your cost object, and your cost object is your yesterday's meals. I'm sure everybody of you all had dinner yesterday. If somebody did not have dinner for some reason, you can go back and take the earlier meal as the cost object. So it may be dinner, lunch, whatever you had yesterday. This is your cost object. Now, interestingly, when we talk about cost object, you have understood it is the product, the service, the activity of which costing is to be done. Then comes another interesting point to determine. This is to be done for what quantity? That is what is called as your cost unit. What is cost unit here? Again, see, your cost object is yesterday's meals. It may be your dinner, your lunch. Cost unit is 1%. That is, I want your meal only. See, what could be the other thing? You can do it for the family. So for what quantum you are doing this costing, that is called as the cost unit. Is it for one? Is it for entire? That is the cost unit. So two technical terms, rather three. So first is this report is called as cost sheet, first technical term. Second, cost object, that is a product, service, or activity for which you are doing costing. And then for what quantity you have to express this cost, that is what is the cost unit, right? Now, what I want is I'm giving you 5 minutes. You have to visualize and make a list of all possible expenses that you can visualize. This is very important because when you're doing costing, you should be able to. So visualize what all expenses have gone into yesterday's lunch dinner. You can do it of your independent or you can take up your family's lunch dinner. Make an exhaustive list. Now see, there are two steps in costing. You have to ascertain the names of the expenses and also the amounts. But I do not want you to go into the amounts part because today we are not finalizing or finding out the actual amounts. Today we are understanding it conceptually. So just give me the list of the names of whatever expenses has gone into your yesterday's meals. So 5 minutes I'm giving you. Actually note it down so that when we start discussing on this, because from this we are going to move towards the technical part of this subject. Fine. Okay, make a list. Ha, Kinari, value it, beta, means break it into the list. I'm shocked to know this. How is it possible? But fine, give me the details because we have to understand costing. Chalo, 5 minutes. I'm just putting off my audio video, right? Excellent. Now, students, when you are posting me the details, don't you think you are missing some major aspects of cost? And this is what I want to give you the realization. निधि बेटा, हम जब कॉस्टिंग कर रहे हैं तो हमें कॉस्टिंग में केवल ये करना है कि हमें जो भी खर्चे हुए हैं उस पर्टिकुलर चीज के लिए जिसका हम कॉस्टिंग कर रहे हैं, वो चीज को हम बोल रहे हैं कॉस्ट ऑब्जेक्ट। आपको उस खर्चों का लिस्ट बनाना है, आपको वो विजुअलाइज करना है, आइडेंटिफाई करना है कि वो खर्चे कितने हुए और उसका लिस्ट बनाना है, राइट? नाउ let me take up this, students, alongside y'all. Now it is good to see that so many of y'all have actually taken the efforts and also typed so much in the chat, because typing is always, yes, Miss Gobika, what you are saying is what I'm actually looking for. Very good. Yes, Harni. So good, Aditi. So now let us understand.
Yes,
Yes,
sir. Good
Rosie.
morning. Good
Good
morning,
morning,
sir.
Rosie.
Yes, sir.
Please.
You're looking for ingredients that are required for making lunch or
I
dinner.
said expenses. I said expenses. Okay. Tell me what you want to
Yes.
add.
Sir, it can be vegetable expense, electricity expense,
Perfect.
oil, water, utensils, appliances.
Wait, wait. You said utensils, right? Now,
Yes,
what
sir.
I will do for how I'll find out the expense of this utensils? You
So
said utensils.
the purchasing price of the utensils.
Entire purchase cost.
Yes, sir.
Entire.
Yes, sir.
Let us say I purchase some utensils. Sorry, I by mistake close down that. Yes, I was saying I purchased some utensils. Obviously, a utensil would cost me 500,000 something. So entire amount.
No, sir. It will be divided in the
Ah,
usage per.
correct. That's why I'm asking. You said purchase cost. So I cross confirm entire purchase cost. No, na?
No, sir. No.
Very good. Yes, Shashank, you want to add something, beta?
Yes, I just wanted to say that same information that she answered it. Utensils cost cannot be taken as completely when we purchase it. It's like a depreciation. Whenever it goes up, whenever the usage goes up, the value of that utensils goes down in reality. So we need to calculate it based on roughly. We cannot tell like exactly that amount, how much it goes in preparing a one meal, how much utensils percentage is being used, exactly
Perfect.
what cost.
So basically, we have to take some apportioned value, right? So that is why I've
Right.
written,
These are like,
I'm
I think
writing.
some are, yeah, some are unmeasurable
Okay,
expenses
that will come
which
to.
comes
Just
in
give me a
between.
list of what you consider as unmeasurable. Let's see, right?
This, yeah, like the usage of utensils cost.
Done, done, done. That then we'll
Yeah,
see if it is measurable or unmeasurable, right? Fine.
right.
Yes, Nidhi.
गुड मॉर्निंग सर।
Good morning, beta. Tell me.
कॉस्ट सीट में डिनर के लिए जब हम जाएंगे तो उसमें ट्रैवलिंग कॉस्ट आ जाएगा और जो हम
Which
ईट
traveling?
करेंगे।
चलो बताइए. Traveling कौन सा? Good.
सर
Traveling कौन सा?
हमारे घर से अगर डिस्टेंस उसका है तो
किसका
अगर हम
किसका
किसी
किसका किसका डिस्टेंस?
डिनर के लिए जो हम यूज करते हैं रेस्टोरेंट या फिर और
Okay.
कोई
अच्छा. So if
चीज।
you are using a mess or restaurant, the distance of that. Okay.
यस
I thought because see, मैं ये अज्यूम कर रहा हूँ कि आप अपने घर में डिनर बना रहे हो, हम उसका कॉस्टिंग कर रहे हैं। एक है कि आप बाहर जाके मेस में खा रहे हो, दैट इज अ डिफरेंट थिंग, राइट? वहां पे तो फिर आपका जो
यस
पर प्लेट कॉस्ट है वही आपका कॉस्ट हो गया, मुझे उनके कॉस्ट का कॉस्टिंग करना है, ठीक है? बट ट्रैवलिंग
बेटर।
आएगा, किस चीज का ट्रैवलिंग आएगा? आप जब मार्केट जाके ये सब सारी चीजें परचेस करोगे ना, राइस, दाल,
तब
वेजिटेबल्स, उसका तो ट्रैवलिंग कॉस्ट लगता है ना। गुड गुड,
यस
वेरी
Sir,
गुड।
electricity will be consumed also.
यस 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 यस, I'm coming to that. So oil, water, electricity, gas, right?
Yes.
Good. Yes, Kinari Bida.
Morning, sir.
Very, very good morning. Tell me.
So, as gas and electricity is mentioned, but the utensil cost which we were talking and discussing about, many households pay for utensil cleaning, which can also be the part of the cost.
100%. It has to be part of the cost. See, this is where I'm coming to. So, in utensils, chalo, I'm now, allow me, let me now uh, write down. So, I'm very happy to see that many of y'all are now taking up the right aspect of this. This is what I wanted to bring out when I was discussing about this. Chalo, so I hope everybody has now got involved in this. So I'm just making a rough list. This is not a complete list. There could be many things. But what I want to bring out is look at this, right? Now, broadly, what we are looking into is first those items like rice, dal, vegetables, then all your spices, then oil, water, maybe ghee, then electricity, gas. Let now understand that this is what is referred to as material, correct? Then you have another component of cost, which only one or two of you identified is the human effort in cooking the food, in serving the food, and later on cleaning everything, the utensils, the plates, etc., which is the human component, which is called as labor. And then there is so many other expenses like utensils, depreciation, if it is brought on rent, then the repairs and maintenance, which she was referring as cleaning. So I'm calling it as repairs and maintenance. Same is with your entire kitchen facilities. Please understand, you have used the kitchen space, you have used so many different types of equipments in your kitchen, from gas stove to refrigerator to microwave to dishwasher, so many things. All of this was required for yesterday's dinner. These are neither material, these are neither human resource, so let us call them as expenses. So now, from this basic example, we are moving to the technical side of costing. So you all have done perfectly right. So what is the first step in doing costing is you have to identify, you have to visualize what all expenses have gone into this goods, service, or whatever is your cost object. Now, when you are doing this, costing says we are not interested in the names. We are interested in the category. So according to costing, there are three categories of expenses or cost, right? Now see students, we are moving from basic to technical. Nisarji, is my audio clear? Because video I think is getting stuck at my end. Nisarji, students, are you all able to hear me clearly? Because at least at my end, my video is slightly getting stuck. Okay, so at least my audio is clear to you all, so that is not a challenge. Okay, so voice is clear. Excellent. Okay. So pay attention. I think now video is also perfect. So what I was saying is, now when we come to the technical side of costing, costing says that your expenses, your cost can be divided into three categories. Now these are referred to as elements of cost. So there are broadly three elements of cost: the material element, the human resource element, which is called as labor, and the element where you incur expenses for all the facilities. Like in case of a company, the factory space, the godown space, the office space, then all the assets that are being used in that particular business. So expenses incurred for all these facilities is what is referred to as the third element, which is expense. Now, costing says that when you want to do costing, you have to further categorize this into two categories. What are these two categories? Let us understand. These may be either direct or indirect. What is this direct and indirect? Please understand. This is where a very important aspect comes, which was also, I think Sashank was trying to highlight this. Now, once I identify these expenses, that okay, I will be incurring so many expenses, when you are going to do the actual costing part, which is this, that is when you are going to find out the amount of these expenses. So you have identified, okay, I have so many expenses which I'm going to incur. So I have identified this. But now when you have to do actual costing, that is finding out the amount, let us call it as valuation. So when you have to do the valuation of all these expenses, the question will come, how much amount will come here, right? How much amount will come? Because let us say rice, we purchase rice, let us say in quantity like 5 kgs, 10 kgs. Some people buy the entire 50 kgs katta. You have incurred cost of rice for let us say 5, 10, 50 kgs. But do you take the entire cost here for your dinner? Answer is no. We will take only that much portion of rice which is related, mind my words, which is related to yesterday's dinner. I hope you all understand and agree to whatever I'm saying. So, when we are talking about costing and cost, cost means expenses. Now I'm talking about cost. I'm defining cost. Cost means expenses which are related to the product or the service or the activity of which costing is done, and we have named this as cost object. But what is very important to know is expenses which are related only that much will come in costing. And I'm sure with this example, you will be realizing and actually feeling, experiencing the subject. I do not want to be theoretical today, because if we start with theory, it will end with theory only. This subject is not theory. I'm not talking about theory and practical from the point of view of solving, from the point of view of approach. So understand this: when I have to find out how much amount I am going to spend for my trip, which is my cost object, or my dinner, which example we are taking, while finding out this amount, you will find that, Rosie, just give me 5 minutes, I'll come to you. So while finding out this amount, you will find that in some cases, like taking the same example of rice dal, for some expenses, it is very easy to identify. Easy to identify. Easy to identify. What is easy to identify? How much of that expense is required? Like some of you in the list that you gave me in the chat, you also gave me the exact quantity of rice. Somebody said 500 grams, somebody said 250 grams. Similarly for dal, similarly for vegetables. So where you can measure and identify how much is the expense that is required, such expenses which can be easily identified. So now I'm giving you all technical explanations and definition. What are direct expenses? Direct expenses are those expenses which can be easily identified or measured or related to the cost object. So in this dinner, I have so many expenses, out of which some I can measure exactly how much. That is direct. So for out of material, what can be measured is direct. Out of labor, what can be measured is direct. And out of expense, what can be measured is direct. But there are many other expenses which you cannot easily or precisely measure. So what you do is you average out. What you do is you average out. Why you average out? Because you cannot precisely measure how much. But we have to add it in cost, because without considering that also, your costing will not be complete. You will not get the complete value of that particular product or service. So even those materials, those labor, those expenses, which you do not know how much precisely, you will still consider the amount by averaging out. What is averaging out? Simple example of this depreciation of utensils and all kitchen equipments and facility. I have spent a lump sum amount on that. It may be on rent. So I pay rent for the entire month. But out of that total depreciation or rent, how much I have to take only for yesterday's dinner is what I will average out. I will do some mathematics to find out averagely, roughly, approximately how much of that particular cost is required yesterday. So those expenses which cannot be precisely identified with the cost object, that is indirect. So when you do costing, this is what is our layman's costing, which is correct. When you all have done costing, you all have done costing exactly in this manner, which is perfect. Nothing wrong. Only the difference is now when we are doing costing in a commercial setup, in a business setup, we do it more technically with these expense names. Instead of our day-to-day life name, now we have these technical names. I hope you all are getting this, right? Yes. Now, let us take up anybody's question, query, inputs, whatever you have. So whoever has some inputs, you may either put it in chat, or if you want, I can unmute you. So many chats. Good. Yes, anybody? Rosie, you had raised your hand. You want to add something? You want to ask something? Yes, Aisha, we have to take depreciation also, because you have used your assets, you have used the entire facility in your kitchen to prepare yesterday's dinner. So you have to take some apportion amount, right? Okay, Rosie says, but don't worry about average out. Average out we'll understand when we will study every subject. See, averaging out what? You have again done this. I'm incurring a lump sum cost. Like as I said, na, depreciation is for the whole year. I want to find out of the whole year depreciation, how much is for yesterday's dinner. That is what I'm saying as average out. That's it. For that, we have simple maths. If I have to give you very simply, estimate your total year's depreciation and estimate your total year's production. Divide it very roughly, you will get what is your per unit depreciation for 1 unit of product. That is what I'm saying, averaging out. But I'm not saying this is how we are going to do. We have so many different ways of averaging out in maths that we'll study when we go to respective chapters. Yes, Harsh.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Beda. Tell me.
Sir, I can't understand the indirect labor. Can you clarify?
But
how
in
could
fact,
we add the
okay,
indirect labor?
see, Harsh,
Yes,
firstly
sir.
understand the difference between direct and indirect. Direct is what you can measure. कल कितना लगा exactly, that is direct. और जो मैं मेजर नहीं कर सकता हूं कि एग्जैक्टली कितना लगा तो मैं उसको एवरेज आउट कर रहा हूं, दैट इज व्हाट इज इनडायरेक्ट. राइट,
Yes,
नाउ
sir.
आई गिव यू अ सिंपल एग्जांपल. You have so many people working in a business, right? Like, simple example, you have a manager. You are paying salary to that manager rupees 1 lakh per month. अब वो मैनेजर का कितना टाइम कितना एफर्ट कल के डिनर में लगा, कैन यू टेल मी प्रिसाइजली हाउ मच? आंसर इज नो.
No, sir.
So we'll do what? We'll average out his salary for yesterday's dinner. Let us say you're running a hotel. Chalo, look at it as if you're running a hotel and you have kept a manager. You have kept even a cook. But how much of that cook's effort is in one plate, one dish which you are serving to your customer? Can you precisely identify? Answer is no.
No, no.
But you can definitely identify how much of vegetables are going into that one plate, how much of rice, dal, etc. is going into that plate, that you can identify. So it is direct, right? Now, with different businesses with different products, the items will shift between direct and indirect. For some products, it is easy. Like, for example, here in this class, my expense for this one class can be easily measured. My costing for, or my price, or my expense for this one class can be measured. So, whatever is my charges for this one class, that is a direct labor. Agreed?
Okay, sir.
Agreed, na?
Yes, sir.
But if, let us say, I am paid monthly or annually, then how much is my cost or price for this one class? How much is my expense for one class? Cannot be easily measured. So same expense will become indirect. Are you getting this?
Oh, yes, sir.
Perfect.
Perfect, sir.
Yes. Darshan, go ahead.
Sir, will you provide a PDF note, sir?
But a PDF will be provided as I start taking up any practical questions. Here, what I'm giving is all conceptual. You want PDF of this, what I'm explaining?
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Am I
So,
Yes. Yes, Kinari Beda.
so to purchase some material, direct material I'm speaking about, we
Hmm.
sometimes have to take the loan, like short term, I would say, or the credit period. If we have a longer credit
We
period
will
with the
will come to
creditors,
that. So you want to know whether interest will be cost or not, right? It is
yes.
too technical. Allow me some time. I'll reach there. Maybe not today because giving everything in one lecture may be too much. So I'm starting from very basic things and definitely will go to all these technical things also, right?
Okay.
Rosie, is your question answered, or you still want me to unmute you? Okay, students. So I hope we have reached to this particular stage where now from your regular day-to-day expense, we are reaching to this particular point that in costing, the expenses are broadly of 6 categories, right? Now I want to give you the technical format. Now, what is this technical format? So when we will be doing costing, and as we proceed in this subject, we will be preparing this cost sheet very regularly. Cost sheet is now also technically referred to as statement of cost. So both mean same. So you call it as cost sheet or you call it as statement of costs. I hope you all are able to understand that in English, both have the same meaning. Now, what is the format? The format says you take all direct cost first. So your direct material, direct labor, direct expense would be first added. And this total is named as prime cost. What is prime? Prime means very basic. Prime means very important. Prime means something without which you cannot do anything. That is why it is called as prime. Most important, most basic. And if you look at what comes in this, All basic cost, all most important costs are what is coming in direct material, direct labor, direct expense, without which your entire work cannot happen. Hence, they are together called as prime cost. So now what is the technical format? We start adding up these expenses, but the sequence is you first take all the direct, and that total is referred to as prime cost. Now, what is left is the three indirect costs, right? Indirect material, indirect labor, indirect expense. Now, interestingly, there is a technical name given to this indirect cost. So, all these three costs, indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expense, is together given a technical name: overheads. A very common word used in business. Many times, if you're talking to a businessman and the businessman is talking something about his cost or his expense or even his losses, he will be using this word कि overheads बहुत बढ़ गए. What are overheads? Overheads are nothing but those expenses which are required for business, but they cannot be easily identified with your product. How much is incurred? Example, rent. Example, salary to staff. This you do not know exactly how much is required for that product, that service, and hence you'll be averaging out while doing costing. That is what is overheads. Now, in the cost sheet format, when we have to add the overheads, they say first divide the overheads into further three categories. So, firstly, all the indirect costs, indirect material, indirect labor, indirect expense together is called as overheads. And then the overheads is bifurcated into overheads required for doing production, overheads required for doing administration of business, and overheads required for doing selling and distribution. So this is typically where we are talking about a manufacturing setup. Now, they say that these overheads, which is firstly your production or manufacturing indirect cost, that is overheads, then you have your administration, or you can also call it as management overheads, and you have your selling and distribution overheads. Then they say after you have added all the direct costs, which is called as prime cost, now start adding up the indirect cost, but under these three names. Why these three names? Because we want to find out intermediate totals. So like how we found out first intermediate total, which is total of all direct cost, we called it as prime cost. Now we have to find out intermediate totals, where when you add in this prime cost only the production or manufacturing overheads, they give it the name as factory cost, technically works cost. So then you have this total, which is factory or works cost. Then when you add administration overheads to this, the total is called as cost of production. So after adding the administration overheads, the total that you get is your cost of production. And then after adding the last overheads, you get the total, which is called as cost of sales, or in very simple words, your total cost. So in a manufacturing setup, your cost sheet will appear something like this. Now, this is also not complete. I am going step by step. I am increasing the cost sheet length by adding up now technical terms. So firstly, broadly, your cost sheet is like this. You have the three direct costs called as prime cost in total, and then adding step by step the different overheads. I hope you all are getting up to this point, because now we are actually getting technical with the subject. It may happen that uh, you may not be able to recall the names. It is very okay. See, we are still in the very first 1.5 hour of the subject. So don't expect that you'll remember all the names immediately. It will take time. Today, what you have to do is you have to be conceptually linked with the subject. So Pratisha is asking me, sir, again explain indirect. I'll explain again, beta. Rosie, just give me a minute. I'll unmute you. I'll just answer Pratiksha. So, what is indirect cost? See, all your expenses firstly are divided into three elements. Either it is material, either it is labor, or it is expense. And then those material, Pratiksha, which you can easily calculate, like जो मटेरियल का खर्चा आप मेजर कर सकते हो कि कल रात के खाने में राइस कितना गया, दाल कितना लगा, कितने वेजिटेबल्स लगे, उसे आप डायरेक्ट कहोगे। जो आप एग्जैक्टली exactly मेजर नहीं कर सकते, जैसे कि अगर आप ये मेजर नहीं कर सकते कल कितना गैस लगा, अगर आप ये नहीं मेजर कर सकते कि कल कितना इलेक्ट्रिसिटी लगा, लगा तो है पर एग्जैक्टली exactly कितना लगा है, अगर वो आप नहीं मेजर कर सकते तो हम उसे इनडायरेक्ट कहेंगे। सो बेटा, व्हाट इज इनडायरेक्ट? इनडायरेक्ट इज दैट कॉस्ट विच इज इनकर्ड। खर्चा तो हुआ है, कल के प्रोडक्ट कल के सर्विस में वो खर्चा है, मगर आप मेजर करके प्रिसाइजली नहीं बता सकते कितना है, तो हमें उसे फिर क्या करना पड़ेगा? अप्रोक्सीमेट एवरेज आउट करके एक एवरेजली ढूंढना पड़ेगा, जैसे अपन बोलते हैं ना, भाई ये अंदाजे इतना लगा होगा। दैट इज व्हाट इज इनडायरेक्ट। प्रतीक्षा, फाइन प्रतीक्षा? यस रोजी?
Sir, is this production overhead, admin overhead? Is this indirect material cost or indirect labor cost?
हाँ, see beta, it is firstly, what is overheads, Rosie? Overheads is a total of indirect material, indirect labor, indirect expense. So all three indirect combined is your overheads. Now this overheads is further bifurcated into production के लिए कौन से, administration के लिए कौन से, selling के लिए कौन से। तो अगर अभी आप जो पूछ रहे हो कि इस प्रोडक्शन ओवरहेड्स में इंडायरेक्ट मटेरियल, इंडायरेक्ट लेबर, इंडायरेक्ट एक्सपेंस है क्या, आंसर इज यस, तीनों है। मगर
Okay,
कौन
sir.
से तीनों है? जो फैक्ट्री में लगेंगे। लाइक आई गिव यू एग्जांपल, इन फैक्ट्री व्हाट इज द इंडायरेक्ट मटेरियल रिक्वायर्ड? द ऑयल, द ग्रीस दैट यू यूज फॉर योर मशीन्स। व्हाट इज द इंडायरेक्ट लेबर रिक्वायर्ड? द फैक्ट्री मैनेजर सैलरी और द सुपरवाइजर सैलरी, वो इंडायरेक्ट है। वर्कर का जो सैलरी वो तो डायरेक्ट लेबर है, इसलिए वो तो ऊपर चला गया, मगर जो वहां पे काम करने वाले बाकी लोग हैं जिनको आप पे करते हो मंथली, सी जहां पे भी आप कोई खर्चा मंथली करोगे ना, जनरली वो इनडायरेक्ट में चला जाएगा, मंथली और एनुअल, क्योंकि फिर वो आप एग्जैक्टली exactly एक प्रोडक्ट के लिए कितना कर रहे हो वो आप आइडेंटिफाई नहीं कर सकते, राइट? सो जो भी
Okay, sir.
आपके मैनेजर का, सुपरवाइजर का सैलरी फैक्ट्री का, वो हो गया इंडायरेक्ट लेबर। और अब इंडायरेक्ट एक्सपेंस क्या है प्रोडक्शन या फैक्ट्री ओवरहेड्स में? जो भी मशीन का डेप्रिसिएशन है, जो भी फैक्ट्री वाली जगह का डेप्रिसिएशन या रेंट है, जो उधर के बाकी जितने भी असेट्स आपके फैक्ट्री में यूज हो रहे हैं, उनके ऊपर आने वाला डेप्रिसिएशन, रिपेयर्स, मेंटेनेंस, रेंट, दैट इज इनडायरेक्ट एक्सपेंस। नाउ
सर
कमिंग
कोई
टू
लॉस, सर कोई लॉस हो गया, मशीन टूट गई
लॉस,
तो?
रुक जाओ, लॉस रुक जाओ। सी, मैंने अभी इंटरेस्ट पेंडिंग रखा है, ये मुझे पूछा था, और अभी आपने लॉस बोला है। जस्ट गिव मी सम टाइम, मैं क्या सब एक साथ बॉम्बार्ड नहीं कर सकता, आई एम गोइंग स्टेप बाय स्टेप। सो वी आर स्टार्टिंग विद बेसिक, विल कम टू ऑल दीज पॉइंट। इंटरेस्ट आएगा क्या, लॉस आएगा क्या, इसमें एक और क्वेश्चन आता है, टैक्सेस आएंगे क्या, विल कम टू दैट, राइट? नाउ
जैसे
व्हेन
ऑयल
आई एम
स्पिल
टॉकिंग,
हो गया फैक्ट्री में तो ऑयल ही पूरा गिर गया, दैट लॉस।
ठीक है ना, वो लॉस है ना, आई कम टू दैट, आई कम टू दैट, गिव मी सम
ओके,
टाइम।
फाइन।
नाउ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन या मैनेजमेंट या ऑफिस ओवरहेड्स में क्या आएगा? वापस सेम तीनों, इंडायरेक्ट मटेरियल, इंडायरेक्ट लेबर, इंडायरेक्ट एक्सपेंस रिलेटिंग टू ऑफिस। व्हाट इज द एग्जांपल? आपके ऑफिस में स्टेशनरी आता है, पेपर आता है, पेन पेंसिल, ये सब आता है, दैट इज इंडायरेक्ट मटेरियल फॉर ऑफिस, दैट इज एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ओवरहेड्स। अगेन ऑफिस में जो भी लोग काम कर रहे हैं, अकाउंटिंग स्टाफ या जो लोग प्लानिंग में है, या आपके डायरेक्टर्स का रेम्युनरेशन, ऑल दिस विल बी इनडायरेक्ट लेबर इन ऑफिस। सो वी कॉल इट एज ऑफिस ओवरहेड्स, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ओवरहेड्स, मैनेजमेंट ओवरहेड्स। सिमिलरली आपके ऑफिस में कंप्यूटर्स लग रहे हैं, फर्नीचर के आर्टिकल्स है, ये सारे जो असेट्स है, प्लस ऑफिस का जो स्पेस है, उसको लगने वाला डेप्रिसिएशन, उसको आने वाला लाइट बिल, उसको आने वाला रिपेयर्स, मेंटेनेंस, all this is indirect expense of office. Similarly, when you come to selling and distribution, आपको गुड्स को मार्केट करना है, दैट इज सेलिंग, और आपको आपके फाइनल प्रोडक्ट को पहुंचाना है आपके कस्टमर्स तक, आपके गोडाउन्स तक, आपके डेपो तक, दैट इज डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन। अगेन, इनडायरेक्ट मटेरियल, इनडायरेक्ट लेबर, इनडायरेक्ट एक्सपेंस, तीनों ये काम करने के लिए, क्या काम करने के लिए? सेलिंग और डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन। अगेन, व्हाट इज इनडायरेक्ट मटेरियल इन सेलिंग इज, आपको जो ऑयल फ्यूल लगेगा आपके डिलीवरी वैन में, that oil fuel is material but it is used in the delivery, so it is indirect, क्योंकि आप ये नहीं फाइंड आउट कर सकते आपके एक प्रोडक्ट को कितना ऑयल फ्यूल लग रहा है, क्योंकि प्रोडक्ट के लिए डायरेक्टली ऑयल फ्यूल नहीं लग रहा है। सिमिलरली, आपके सेल्स डिपार्टमेंट में काम करने वाले सेल्समैन, सेल्स मैनेजर, उन सबका पगार इज इनडायरेक्ट लेबर। और वापस सेल्स डिपार्टमेंट में जितने भी एसेट्स यूज हो रहे हो, क्योंकि वहां पे भी आपके पास एक सेटअप है, एक जगह है, फर्नीचर है, कंप्यूटर्स है, वहां पे जो आपके बाकी के इक्विपमेंट्स है जो आप यूज कर रहे हो, एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन में जो डिलीवरी वैन यूज हो रहा है, ये सब का आने वाला जो डेप्रिसिएशन, इसको आने वाला रिपेयर्स, मेंटेनेंस, ऑल दीज आर इनडायरेक्ट एक्सपेंस। सो ओवरहेड्स इज इनडायरेक्ट मटेरियल, इनडायरेक्ट लेबर, इनडायरेक्ट एक्सपेंस। और जब हम उसको तीन कैटेगरीज में बाइफरकेट कर रहे हैं, इनफैक्ट आप जैसे जैसे आगे बढ़ोगे ये तीन कैटेगरीज भी नहीं है, प्रोडक्शन में और सब डिवीजन है, सेलिंग एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन को भी और सब डिवाइड करते हैं, बट फॉर द टाइम भी हम थोड़ा ब्रॉड रह रहे हैं अभी, क्योंकि एक साथ मैं सारे डिटेल्स में जाऊंगा, बहुत सारा एक साथ बता दूंगा तो कुछ भी एब्जॉर्ब नहीं होगा। सो आंसरिंग रोजीज क्वेश्चन फॉर एवरीवन, कि इनडायरेक्ट मटेरियल, इनडायरेक्ट लेबर तीनों में है, प्रोडक्शन ओवरहेड्स में भी, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में भी, सेलिंग में भी। तीन आपके बिजनेस के मेजर फंक्शंस है, अंडरस्टैंड दिस, प्रोडक्शन इज वन मेजर फंक्शन, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन इज अनदर मेजर फंक्शन, सेलिंग इज अनदर मेजर फंक्शन। तीनों को लगने वाले जो इनडायरेक्ट खर्चे हैं, दैट इज द रिस्पेक्टिव ओवरहेड्स। आई होप दिस इज क्लियर टू एवरीवन, राइट? Perfect students up to this point. So we started from very basic in cost sheet, in costing, and from basic now we have reached to the technical format. अब इसमें अगर आप देखोगे, I had left some spaces in between. Why? Because I'll again repeat, this format is not yet complete. ये format और expand होते जाएगा, but I do not want to give everything now because it will be too much of overloading. जस्ट एक फाइनल चीज मैं यहाँ पे ऐड करता हूँ बिफोर आई मूव ऑन। सो प्रोडक्शन या फैक्ट्री या मैन्युफैक्चरिंग ओवरहेड जब आप ले रहे हैं, तो यहाँ पे यू विल ऑल्सो एडजस्ट द स्टॉक्स। विच स्टॉक? ओपनिंग WIP एंड क्लोजिंग WIP। सी, आपके पास तीन प्रकार के स्टॉक्स हैं, रॉ मटेरियल, WIP, फिनिश गुड्स। तो ओपनिंग फिनिश गुड्स स्टॉक, क्लोजिंग फिनिश गुड्स स्टॉक, और ये दोनों एडजस्ट करने के बाद आपको एक टोटल आएगी। सो कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन था आपके पास, एड ओपनिंग लेस क्लोजिंग, व्हाट यू गेट इज कॉल्ड एज कॉस्ट ऑफ गुड्स सोल्ड। स्टूडेंट्स, डोंट वरी, आपको ये सब याद रखने की आज जरूरत नहीं है। वी आर स्टिल इन आवर वेरी बेसिक फेस। अब तक हमारे लेक्चर के सिर्फ 1.5 घंटे हुए, एंड इट इज नॉट एक्सपेक्टेड कि इसमें आपको कॉस्ट शीट याद रहेगा। कॉस्ट शीट पूरा एक अलग चैप्टर है, तब यही सारी चीजें वापस रिपीट होगी विद प्रैक्टिकल्स। बट आई वांट टू ब्रिंग यू फ्रॉम बेसिक टू टेक्निकल, which is the part of our first chapter's syllabus. So this is the different adjustments of stock, and this is how your cost sheet will expand. तो इसमें फिनिश गुड स्टॉक यहाँ पे आ गया, प्रोडक्शन और कॉस्ट ऑफ गुड सोल्ड के बीच में, WIP स्टॉक आ गया, प्राइम कॉस्ट और फैक्ट्री कॉस्ट के बीच में, और जो आपका रॉ मटेरियल स्टॉक है वो इसमें एडजस्ट होता है। ये जो डायरेक्ट मटेरियल है, इसे हम रॉ मटेरियल कंज्यूम्ड भी कहते हैं व्हेन इट कम्स टू अ मैन्युफैक्चरिंग ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। फॉर फाइंडिंग आउट रॉ मटेरियल कंज्यूम्ड, the working is opening stock of raw material plus purchases and expenses. What are these expenses? I'll come to that. And closing stock of raw material. So opening plus purchases minus closing, This gives you your raw material consumed, also called as your direct material. So what I'm trying to bring out is any business may have three types of stocks: raw material, WIP, finished goods. All are adjusted in cost sheet at different stages. Right, students? Understood by all? So we did costing with a real life example. You all gave me the actual correct costing, which was in this format. I just changed the format and brought you to your technical format, which is used by industries. Is this fine? Perfect with all? Right? ठीक है ना यहां तक सबके लिए? Good going? Arni says yes. Okay, fine. So now let me give you all a break because too much you all are continuously with me for 1 hour 25 minutes. So we take a 5 minutes break. All of us, you all also take a break. Just ease out your mind before I take you to more interesting concepts in costing. In the meantime, if anybody has any questions, you may post it. Fine. So a roughly 5 to 7 minutes break. Nisargji, we are having a break of 5 to 7 minutes. Okay, should we resume? Yes, fine. Rosie, beta RMC is raw material consumed. So it is not only raw material cost, it is raw material consumed. Also, somebody, I was just reading the chat, Hina, she's saying, ki, sir, study material of May 25 is available. Should we continue with it? Yes, it is very fine because at least in subject like costing, there are no amendments except for a few additions for some new variety of sums, but that is fine. You can definitely continue with the module for all subjects. Yes, for taxation, definitely there would be amendment. But for the time being, even for starting the study of taxation, there should not be a problem. Later on, we also share separately the amendment. We upload it on the portal, so you can use it. And anyways, when you are attending one of our classes, the faculty will be giving you the updated provisions. So don't worry for that. Definitely go ahead. You can use the materials which are hosted on our website. Fine. So now moving forward, as we determine the cost, now we land up with the technical definition of cost. So what we have identified, what is cost? Cost are your expenses. Now over there previously I've used the word related. Now I'm changing it with a technical word, attributable to the product, service or activity, which is called as your cost object. Now, so costs are expenses which are attributable, which I had used the word related, and it is attributable to that thing for which you are doing costing. So when you have to do costing, you will only consider those expenses which have some connection with your product service. Like when you gave me the costing of your dinner, you did not cover your medicine expenses in that. You did not cover your uh, mobile recharge in that. You did not cover your uh, television recharge in that. Why? Because it has no relation with the dinner cost. So that is what is very relevant, that whenever you are doing costing, you have to take only those expenses which has some connection, maybe direct, maybe indirect, right? Now I come to another very important point about costing, which will be relevant as we proceed in understanding and solving the various sums. When you are doing costing, which we already saw is a process of finding out cost, etc. Now, interestingly, this is a pre-activity which is done using estimates. Very interesting and important point. Costing is a pre-activity done using estimates. Now, obviously, when I'm saying it is a pre-activity, you have to take estimates. What is a pre-activity? Pre-activity means before you actually do that production, before you actually give that service, you are finding out the cost. So generally the costing is done before the actual activity is done, and hence, since you have not yet produced the goods, since you have not yet provided the service, what amount you are going to take for every expense will be your estimate. Now, I'm not saying that costing cannot be done after doing that activity. Definitely it can be done. And whenever you are doing it after doing that activity, obviously now actual costs are available. So you will be taking the actual cost. But let me tell you, the actual use, the purpose of costing is doing it before. Why? So from here, we come to a very important theoretical point, the purpose or objectives of cost accounting, costing everything. Now, broadly understand this. Why are you doing this costing? What is the main purpose of costing? The first main purpose or object of doing costing, cost accounting is knowing your cost. Now, why do you want to know your cost? You want to know your cost because, yes, Krishna, you want to determine, you want to fix the price. See, when any client comes to me for any professional work, the first question that he will ask me after explaining his requirement and everything is, "Okay, sir, how much will be your fees?" Right? Similarly, when you go in the market to buy any of your goods, whatever you require, you always ask for the price. So many times it happens that before I have actually produced and sold the goods, I need to first do costing. So costing is one of those activities which has to be done much before than actually doing the work. Why? Because only when I know my cost, I can fix up the price. Another very important purpose or object of doing this costing and cost accounting is cost control, cost reduction. Now, we all have been hearing this, and very soon you'll be experiencing that today's business world has become thoroughly competitive. How? Simple example, you see that nowadays you'll find majority of the goods being sold by offering discount, by giving you various types of schemes, and most important, the prices are kept as low as possible because they know that in Indian markets, in order to sell in large quantity, you should have a very competitive price. When I say competitive means very much lower or lowest possible price as compared to your other competitors. So this is done by either keeping a low price at the start itself or by keeping a high price but then giving discount in the form of various schemes and offers. So ultimately what it is that your selling price you have to keep as low as possible. Now in this particular case, costing becomes very relevant because besides knowing your cost or fixing your cost, you have to regularly work on ensuring that your cost remains in control. Yes, Shashank,
Vishal sir, I would like to add a point here in
please.
terms of the discount and all what you said. As I've already, as I said you that I had a product that I sold it on Amazon like in the year 2023 at the mid of 2023. So at the time when I was taking the costing of the product, even I have measured the discount in that app. No one gives you the product at the cost or the discounted price. Everything is predetermined. It is added in your cost of the product. So whenever we are taking
Exactly,
the
beta. So
goods
that is what
sold,
I'm trying to say. That is what I'm
yes.
trying to say.
So
There is no discount later on. So that is where costing
yes,
plays a role. See, that is only a
yes,
marketing gimmick. You purposely
yes,
a higher price so that you can show them that okay, you are giving discount. So that is where this is what is we are
exactly.
so you're right,
Yeah,
beta.
we have to add that. If we have to add this discount also in our costing,
Correct.
then only we can get the exact profit what we assume for.
So that is what I'm trying to explain. You're right, beta. Thank you.
Yeah.
So understand this, students. See what is the purpose. So in today's competitive market, in order to earn a proper profit margin, you have to keep minimum possible price or what now Shashank was sharing that you show a higher price but you give discount so that you can get more orders. Now for this, it is very important that we keep our cost within limits. So again, costing plays a very important role in business world for doing cost control. And again, for doing cost control, you have to first fix a limit as to this would be your maximum cost which you can incur, and then continuously comparing the limit with actual to keep the actuals within control. Similarly, because of rising competitions and new products and new things coming into the market, you also need to continuously find out different options, different avenues by which you can reduce the cost. So cost control is maintaining the cost at that level. Reduction is now trying to make that product or give that service in a lower price. because again of the market conditions, the competition, so many new players are coming into market. Somebody is offering free because they are just starting, somebody is giving at a very low discount. So these are the reasons where the businesses have to continuously looking for cost reduction. And again, for this, the costing plays a very important role, right? Next, very important purpose of cost accounting is ascertaining the profit of each product, service, or activity. Now, again, this is very important. See, normally in accounts, account gives you profit, but account gives you profit of the business. But when you have to run a business, you have to also know the profit that you are getting from each product separately. Accounts does not gives you profit of each product, it gives you profit for the whole business. But in costing, since you have fixed or ascertained the cost of each product, and you know the sales of each product, by comparing this two you can find out the profit, which helps you in most important aspect of business, that is decision making. So when you are running a business, you continuously have to take decisions about which product I should sell, which product I should stop selling, what new line of businesses I should get into. So you have to keep on making decisions. For this decision making also costing is required. And for all this, as I was mentioning, doing costing beforehand plays a very important role. Now, since costing has to be done before, and you can now understand it from this theoretical point, which is the purpose and objectives of costing and cost accounting, that costing has to be done before, which is why I'm saying it is a pre-activity. And whenever it is pre-activity, obviously what you are requiring is estimate. In other words, in this entire cost sheet, the amounts that we are going to consider over here are all estimated amounts. Now keep this in mind, because linked to this will be many other conceptual points. So whenever you are doing costing, the amounts that you are going to consider in the cost sheet in your costing are estimates. Definitely, you can also run this costing again after your activity is over, and in that case you will be taking actual figures. But understand this, students, taking actual figures and doing costing after the entire work is done may not be so useful. Costing is more useful when it is done beforehand, so that you can do all these things. And that is why we use estimates. Correct? So costing is a pre-activity done using estimates. Now comes the most important and interesting part. Somebody was asking me about, sir, whether losses are also to be considered in cost. So let us now discuss about this point, that do we add losses also in our cost sheet? The answer is depends. Depends on what? Depends on the type of loss. Now, for the purpose of costing and for business, we divide or bifurcate the loss into two categories: normal losses, abnormal losses. Now, what are normal and abnormal? Let us understand the difference. Once you understand this difference, you will yourself be able to connect. So, what is a normal loss? Normal loss is that loss which is inherent, which is expected, which is part of the activity, and which can be estimated. What is abnormal? Unexpected, not anticipated. Now, simple example of normal and abnormal. We have this class of 2.5 hours. So whatever price I'm getting, whatever is my remuneration, is for 2.5 hours. However, it is compulsory that 2.5 hours nobody can absorb. Even if I keep on speaking, you will not be absorbing. And even for our basic requirements, we need some break. So that is why some breaks are incorporated bay brakes are provided. Now, this happens in any business scenario that where you are making payment to your employees, you are making payment for the whole time the employee is going to be present, but the employee will not be able to work for the whole time because the employee will require regular breaks. Now, indirectly, you are even paying for the breaks, which technically, if I think for a businessman, it is loss because he is not getting any returns in that. So this is an example of loss of labor. Similarly, if I talk about material, let us say same example of your cooking, your dinner, because this is how we are starting and understanding this concept of costing. So when you are bringing any vegetable, you pay for the vegetable on the basis of kg. However, there is 100% possibility that your entire material is not going to be consumed in your product. Some part of the material will be waste. Like when you are using the material in cooking, you will remove the skin, you will remove the seeds, you will remove those parts of the vegetable which are non-consumable. Same thing is with all other items. So whenever we are using material, labor, or any of these cost in our, let us say, production or our business, there is going to be some inherent, expected, unavoidable, another word, loss. You know that, okay, when I'm going to bring 2 kgs of material, I will be able to consume only 1.5 because zero point 0.5 will be the kachra that I will remove, which will not be usable, but I pay for 2 kgs. So that zero point 0.5 kgs for which I have paid, which is kachra, which will be removed, is actually a loss. But that loss is a normal loss. It is inherent, it is expected, and hence it is to be added, it is to be included in costing. But the loss which happened purely because of my mistake, my negligence, which was not expected, it is some calamity that has happened which has led to that loss, should never be included in cost. So the rule about losses is that losses which are normal, which are expected, which are unavoidable, has to be included in cost. Right? Now, this I can relate with the basic definition of cost also. What is cost? Cost is expenses which is attributable. Now, in expenses, even losses are covered. So, which losses will be part of cost and costing? Those which you can attribute, which you know that this will happen. This is part and parcel. Without doing that loss, without incurring that loss, I cannot complete my product, cannot complete my entire production. Then such expenses, such losses will also be included. But those which are not attributable, why? Because they were unexpected. They happened because of my mistake, my negligence, will never be included. Why? For the same reason. They are not attributable. They are not related to my product. They are related to my inefficiency, my wrong planning, my negligence. So let us say while cooking, I spilled over some ghee, some oil. I unknowingly or wrongly, when I was chopping the vegetables, I even removed the good part of the vegetable because I was not having proper knowledge experience. So when I incur such losses or because of overcooking, overheating, some of my yesterday's rice, etc., became bad. It was unconsumable because वो जल गया पूरा. All these are cases of abnormal losses, which is not attributable, which is not part of my actual work. It happened because of some mistake. Such losses will never be considered in cost. So this is about the treatment of losses. Now coming to another interesting element, whether deemed expenses are part of cost. Now, what are the technical words? Deemed expenses are also referred to as notional expenses. They are also technically called as imputed cost. You'll find all these words in your chapter 1. Now, what is a notional or an imputed expense or cost, or what is a deemed expense? So all these means what? Where you are not actually paying. Giving you example, depreciation. Are you actually paying? No, we are only assuming. Deemed means to assume that yes, there is some expense in the form of wear and tear. We call it as depreciation. Similarly, interestingly, in my example of dinner, see, I will always relate it with dinner because you can always experience, feel it. In my example of dinner, the salary to mummy or sister or whoever, dad, whoever was cooking, do you pay any salary? Do you actually have any cash outflow for that? Answer is no. But it is a very important component. Without the cooking efforts, your yesterday's dinner could not be ready. So these are those expenses which are there. That particular thing is required in my product, in my service. Without that, my product service cannot be completed. But you are not actually paying for it. That is what is notional, that is what is imputed. It is also called as implied. These are the parallel terms which are used in our module, right? Ishwarya has asked a very important question. I'll answer you. Before that, Gobika has given a proper term which you have already used for this. You know this term, that is opportunity cost. So we have been using it from standard 11 economics. So what is this opportunity cost? So let us say I'm talking about mom's salary or dad's salary for whatever cooking they have done. Now the point is, had I not done this, had I used my time for some other thing, how much I could have earned from that other work? That is what is opportunity cost. So if you want to find out कि ठीक है sir, you are saying notional expenses लेना है, but कितना लेना है? The answer is you find out the opportunity cost. कि had I not used this particular labor, this particular expense here, had I used it somewhere else, what I would have earned from there, what I would have got from there is my opportunity cost. Fine, understood. So this is about whether deemed expenses, deemed cost can be included. Yes, you're right, beta. So you can also call it as non-cash. Now, what is opposite to this? Opposite to this, which is given in your module, is out of pocket expenses. This is called as implicit or implied. So it is called as explicit. So these are the words for the expenses where you are actually paying. So where you are actually paying, Aditi, they call it as out of pocket. So where you are not paying, which we call as implied or notional, they call it as non-cash, you can say rightly, as you have pointed out, right? So opposite of this is out of pocket cost or explicit cost. Prajapati, I'll answer your question. So I'll just write down. So he has asked me a question, what is sunk cost? I'll come to that. So we were talking about this concept. So we talked about losses, we talked about deemed or notional expenses, right? Yes, Surya Beda. Shraddha Beda, I've already cited example of opportunity cost. Like, chalo, I'll give you another example. In my office, I am doing the work. I am not getting any salary paid in my office, right? Now, the example of this opportunity cost is, had I not worked in my office, had I taken up a job somewhere else, whatever salary I would have received there is the opportunity cost of I spending my time in my office. Right, beta? Understood? Yes, Surya. Surya. But do you have any doubt or it was by mistake? Good. Okay, let us proceed then. So, deemed expenses done, losses done. And along with this, we discuss some other technical terms used in our module: implicit cost, imputed cost, notional cost, and the opposite of that, out of pocket cost, explicit cost. Surya, you have again raised your hand. I'm unmuting you. Okay. Then you have something in your module called as engineered cost. Surya. Surya, I've tried unmuting you. Opposite of engineered cost is policy cost. Let's understand what are these terms. So engineered cost is a cost where there is perfect input output relation. So you know that if I want to manufacture so many units, I will have to incur so much of the cost. So where you can measure the cost as to for this much input, how much should be the cost, that is engineered. So all your direct expenses are engineered, and majority of the expenses which are linked to your work are all engineered. Opposite to this is those costs which do not have a direct input output relationship, but you incur it as per your wish. You incur it as per your own decision. Example: R&D expenses, marketing expenses. Now, all these expenses may not have a direct one-to-one relation. You cannot say that by doing so much of marketing, I will get so much of orders and sales. So you have to take a decision. You have to decide a policy, and every year you fix up some amount that, okay, I will be spending this much on marketing this year. I will be spending this much of on R&D this year. That is what is the policy cost, right? So you have this concept of engineered, and you have the concept opposite of that, that is policy cost. Okay. Now, coming to one more question which was asked earlier, ki, sir, whether interest will be cost or not. Now, when it comes to interest, let us first understand what is interest. For that matter, even you can say dividends, because both are the same thing. What is same in that? It is a finance cost. What do you mean by finance cost? So, if you want to run a business, you need money. Money to do what? Money to buy the resources, like first the land, then set up the factory building, set up your administrative block, and also then to install all machines, buy computers, and do the entire setup. Now, for this, you need money, which can be either by the owners to whom you give dividend or share in profit, and you can also borrow it from the market in the form of banks and different types of loans, debentures, etc. Now, in this case, whatever share in profit, dividend, interest you pay to these people who have provided you funds or money, that becomes your finance cost. And finance cost is never included in costing. Why? Because that becomes the margin of your profit. So all these things we add up separately in the price as our margin, but it is not treated as past part of cost. But where you take short-term loans, which is required for your operational reasons. So generally, for running business, many times we require short-term loans. We require many times some finance for that particular work, like for undertaking a construction contract. I have taken a particular loan specifically for that work. then we call that interest expense as my operational cost. And if it is an operational cost required for my day-to-day working, then that interest is to be included in your costing. But where it is a long-term finance cost for arranging funds for setting up the business, it is never included in costing, right? Now, another bifurcation of your expenses is variable, fixed, semi-variable. Now, what is this fixed, variable, semi-variable? Understand this. So, whenever you are doing any production or work, there are some expenses which will increase exact in proportion with your output. Increase, decrease in proportion to output, like your raw material cost. The more you produce, the more you incur expense. So that is your variable cost. As against this, fixed costs are the constant expense irrespective of change in output, like your rent, like your depreciation. Whatever you do, if this month production is less, next month production is more, it makes no difference. The expense will remain constant, that is fixed. It will not be affected by changes in output. So where it is changing exactly in proportion with output, we call it as variable expense, variable cost. But it does not change. Even though your output is changing, it remains constant. It is called as your fixed cost, fixed expense. Now, other than these two, you have another category of cost, which is semi-variable. Now, in semi-variable, you have those expenses which can be of one of these types. One graph is this. Firstly, here we are measuring units in the on the x-axis. On the y-axis, we are showing the cost. Now, these are the two types of semi-variable. As you can see, this graph or this cost line is starting from here. Means what? Even though your production is zero, still you will have some cost. And then as your production increases, the cost increases. So at any given point, you will find that your cost has two components. This part is fixed and this part is variable. The simplest example of this is your electricity bill. So one of the cases of semi-variable is, firstly, what is semi? Semi means part. So it is partly variable, partly fixed. So you can call it as semi-variable, you can call it as semi-fixed. Generally, we call it as semi-variable only. So where some part of the expense is fixed, which you will incur even if your work is zero, no work is happening, still you incur it, that is fixed. And then the balance part is what is changing with change in work, with increase in production, you incur more costs, that is variable first. So first type of semi-variable is part fixed, part variable. Second type of semi-variable is this, which is also called as a step cost. What is this? Where the expenses are such that for some level they remain constant. Let us say for 1 to 50, you require one box. What is this box? Like I'm manufacturing chocolates, but these chocolates are sent to the market by putting it in a box. one box contains 50 chocolates. So for any number of chocolates between 1 to 50, I will have to incur fixed amount for one box. But the moment my chocolate quantity goes beyond 50 up to next 50, that is from 51 to 100, I will require the second box. So after I cross this level of 50, my expenses increase. Then again, it will remain constant. Again, when I cross the next 50, my expenses will increase. So again, this type of cost is semi-variable, which remains fixed up to a level, then it changes. Again, for next level, it remains constant, then it changes. So it is neither completely fixed, neither completely variable. So these are examples of semi-variable. So this example is packaging cost, or in another case, this will also include the cost of molds and dyes. मोल्ड्स एंड डाइज आर जो साचा यूज करते हैं हम प्रोडक्ट बनाने के लिए। जिस साचे में आप मोल्टेड मेल्टेड प्लास्टिक डालोगे तो उसको उसका शेप मिल जाएगा। लेट अस से यू आर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग बॉटल्स, सो फॉर गेटिंग द शेप ऑफ द बॉटल यू हैव अ डाई which is used, which is the shape of the bottle. Now that die can produce 1 lakh bottles. After 1 lakh bottles, you have to buy a new die. So that is where these molds and dies, these are examples of this second type of semi-variable cost, which is also the step semi-variable cost, right? So these are again another classification, bifurcation of your cost. Yes. Tanzil is asking me, sir, what does incurred means? See, beta, incurred is a word which we use in accounts, which we use in all our commercial sense. It means spent. So जब आप कोई खर्चा कर रहे हो, हम बोलते हैं मैं खर्चा कर रहा हूँ. I'm spending the money. We use in accounts costing FM that I have incurred this expense. So incurred means spending, right? Okay. Now we proceed further to understand some more important concepts. Somebody asked me कि sir what is cost driver? तो let me tell you, मैं आपको आज cost driver नहीं बताऊंगा. It will be not understandable today. That you'll understand after 2-3 more chapters are done. So don't worry, cost driver आपका जिसका भी question था that will be explained, but I cannot explain it now. It will not sink into your heads, right? Now somebody asked me what is sunk cost. अब संक का हिंदी में मतलब होता है डूब जाना, एंड मेनी टाइम पीपल कंसिडर कि डूब गया कॉस्ट मतलब लॉस हो गया. दिस इज रॉन्ग. Sunk cost does not means a loss. So whoever was asking me कि sir what is sunk cost, let me first clarify. Sunk को अगर आप हिंदी में बोलोगे तो डूब गया हम बोलते हैं, but that does not mean that this is a loss. In fact, this is your cost. वो आपका खर्चा ही है, काम का खर्चा है, मगर what you have already done in the past, जो अब आप चेंज नहीं कर सकते. जैसे आपने मशीन खरीद ली, दैट्स इट. मशीन आपकी खरीद के हो गई, अब आप उसे चेंज नहीं कर सकते, तो वो कॉस्ट आपका सम कॉस्ट हो गया. अब वो लॉस नहीं है, बिकॉज द मशीन इज रिक्वायर्ड बाय यू रेगुलरली फॉर योर बिजनेस. यू आर यूजिंग द मशीन डे ऑन डे, बट यू हैव स्पेंड दैट अमाउंट. नाउ यू कैन नॉट चेंज इट. आई बाय अ सॉफ्टवेयर फॉर माई बिजनेस बाय स्पेंडिंग रुपीज 100 crore. मैंने अपने बिजनेस के लिए सॉफ्टवेयर खरीद लिया, कोई ऐप कोई वेबसाइट बना ली. Now I am using that. It is not a loss. It is used for my business regularly, but now I cannot change that cost. So sunk cost is the cost which has happened in past, which cannot be now changed by any action or decision. So जो खर्चा आप इनकर कर चुके हो, like you registered for CA course by paying your registration fees. Now whether you continue, you don't continue, you give this attempt, you don't give this attempt, that is not going to change. अब इसका ही मतलब नहीं कि वो लॉस हो गया. भाई वो फीस भरा तभी तो आप आगे सीए कोर्स कर पा रहे हो. सो इट इज यूजफुल फॉर बिजनेस, but now you cannot change it because it has already been incurred. You have spent that amount, so it is sunk. So sunk does not means a loss. It means a past period cannot be changed. अब sunk का opposite है relevant. See, I'm giving you all the definitions and concepts, but now linking. विद कि आपस में किसका क्या कनेक्शन है, रिलेशन है, कुछ ऑपोजिट है, कुछ एक दूसरे को कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री। इसका ऑपोजिट ऑफ sunk is relevant, which means future cost, which can be changed by your action or decision. Like I just gave example of your registration fees for your CA intercourse. You have paid that, done. Now you cannot change. But आगे जो आपको एग्जाम फी पे करना बाकी है अभी, सी जब तक वो फ्यूचर कॉस्ट है, टिल देन इट इज रिलेवेंट. The moment you pay this exam fee also, let us for upcoming attempt, you pay the exam fees, again it will become sunk because now you cannot change it. Now you cannot decide कि चलो मुझे attempt नहीं देना है तो I will get back the fees. That is not possible. So those expenses which you already incur, which cannot be changed, are sunk, but it does not mean a loss. It is a cost of your business required for your business, but it cannot be changed. And relevant are those costs जो incur हो रहे हैं, होने वाले हैं, and which you can change by taking some action or decision. Like now you have joined the course, but you are yet to decide ki whether I should give September attempt or January attempt or May attempt. Let us say you have choice. I know that this is a new batch. I'm just giving an example. So you have a, let us say, a choice कि आप September attempt भी दे सकते हो, Jan भी दे सकते हो, May भी दे सकते हो. So right now for you the exam fees is a relevant cost because you have yet to pay it, and it purely depends upon your action or decision what you decide. So if you decide, you will pay for September. If you don't, you may skip September and you can go for January. So the exam fees is a relevant cost. So opposite of sunk is relevant, where you can change it by your action or decision. Correct, students? Is this clear to everyone? So see, we started today morning with the basic exploration of this subject. And in this process, we are understanding many concepts and we are also trying to understand the logic of these concepts. We have discussed lightly how that is about the costing process, but the detailed process of costing you study over the period as you proceed. Now, coming to another part, our subject also covers the name management accounting. Now, what is this management accounting? So till now we were discussing about costing, cost accounting. Let us now also discuss the next part of our subject, that is what is management accounting. Now, what is this management accounting? Same accounting for management. Now, you know accounting means recording, classifying, summarizing, reporting. But when I say for management means what? For functions of management. In other words, see, a company has to be run in a proper, efficient manner. And we all know the management runs the company, which includes the board of directors, the different managers, the different department heads. But for running the company, they have to do certain activities. Firstly, planning, then decision making, then controlling. So there are different functions, there are different activities that are required to be done while running your company. Now, for doing this, for all these things that the management does, we call them as functions of management. The management requires information. भाई प्लानिंग हवा में नहीं होगी, डिसीजन मेकिंग अंदाजे नहीं होगी. You require proper information, you require proper data on the basis of which you can prepare your plans, you can take decisions, and time to time you can take actions for controlling what is going wrong. But for doing all this, the management requires information, data. Now you have to do the reports which will be given to the management. You have to prepare the reports, and on the basis of these reports, the management would be taking its different functions. Now, these reports are prepared by the department, which is the management accounting department, and what they do is called as MIS. You'll read and hear about this word also, MIS. What is the full form of MIS? Full form is Management Information System. So this is the department which will be providing all the relevant data information in the form of proper reports to the management so that the management can carry out its functions. Now, for preparing these reports, the process, the step which is used is again accounting. Hence, what is management accounting? Management accounting is the process by which you record, you classify, you analyze, you summarize, etc., etc., and finally you prepare the reports which will provide the proper information to the management for their planning, decision making, controlling. This is what is management accounting. So nowadays, every business has a separate department which does the management accounting, which is also called as MIS, that is Management Information System, which provides the very crucial reports for doing or carrying out the management functions of planning, decision making, controlling. Right now, we understood that our subject is comprising of broadly three subparts, correct? Now, I'll give you the syllabus of your subject divided into these subparts. So, we have some chapters which are exclusively dealing with costing, like the chapter which we are going to start in the next class, material, then employee is labor, and you have overheads, correct? These are, I have already mentioned, these are elements of cost. Besides this, you have another part in costing, which is methods of costing. What are methods? See, every business is different from the other. Like some are manufacturing business, some are trading business, some are service sector business. Within service sector business, hotels are different, banks are different, CA offices are different. So all these businesses are different. Now, every business requires a different format of doing costing. These different formats. So we are going to prepare cost sheet. Cost sheet is our basic report, but it has to be prepared in different formats suited to different businesses. That is what is called as methods of costing. Now in this, we will study different chapters. First is the cost sheet, which is the main chapter because cost sheet is the basic concept what we discussed today. And in that, you will study the different methods: job, batch, unit, contract, operating, then process. So these are the different topics in your syllabus dealing with different methods, formats of costing. So these are the components or elements of cost. As I explained today, all your expenses which becomes cost are classified into broad three elements: material, labor, that is employee, and other expenses. And then the formats, that is the cost sheet that you are going to prepare, or the process in which you are going to do the costing, is what is methods of costing, in which you have one chapter which is basically dealing with the overall cost sheet format which I explained you today. And then in detail we will study the method or the format of costing where you will be doing actually the costing for different types of businesses, different products, services, etc. Then you have chapters where you are going to do accounting of these costs, and mainly the chapter over here is your integrated, non-integrated accounts. So this is the chapter dealing with the cost accounting. And in fact, when you're doing these methods of costing, here also, along with costing, you are doing accounting also. So certain chapters are mix of both costing and cost accounting. So today, if you see the format, if you see the index of this subject, you will find exactly these names. So I'm now trying to explain you from where we started. I'm trying to conclude today's session by giving you the overall purview of what is covered. Now coming to the third part. What is management accounting? I just explained. Recording, classifying, analyzing, and finally preparing the reports, which will help management in doing their crucial functions. What are the most crucial functions? Planning, decision making, and controlling. Now, for this, the chapters that we have particularly for this chapter is the budgeting or the budgetary control, where we will learn to prepare budgets, which is, you all know, budget is part of planning. Then you have another chapter which is for taking decisions, that is the marginal costing. And then you have another chapter which is for controlling the cost, how to control the cost, which you saw is one of the important objectives of costing and cost accounting. That chapter is standard costing. So see, you will find that our entire syllabus, what we are going to study, is comprising of topics of costing, where you learn how to find out cost. First, we learn how to find out material cost, labor cost, etc. And then we learn how to find out the total cost under different methods, under different business formats. That is what is methods of costing. And then we have the topics where you do the journal entries, the ledger accounts, that is what is cost accounting. And finally, we have those chapters where you do this part, which is management accounting and the three major functions of management. So this is your overall syllabus of the subject of cost accounting. I hope this is clear to everyone, students. So this is our first chapter from module. And if you see, we discussed many of these concepts today. Yes, there would be some definitions which are left out, but that I have intentionally left out because we are still very new to this subject. Though this subject is part and parcel of your life, as I explained, we have been doing this, but unknowingly we have been doing this. Now you understand that, okay, what you did at some point of time was actually costing. So see, you have the definitions of cost, costing, cost accountancy. Now this is what is the difference between cost accounting and cost accounting. Now see, interestingly, what we have just discussed has taken the shape of a proper definition. Like costing, it is the process where what you do is you ascertain the cost. So it is the technique and process of ascertaining cost. What is cost accounting? Again, it is the process of accounting for cost, which begins with recording and which ends with the preparation of statements and reports. Correct? So exactly this is what we discussed. Management accounting, it is the application of principles of accounting and financial management to create, protect, preserve, and increase the value of stakeholders. In simple words, management accounting is an integral part of management functions. What is that? Planning, organizing, controlling, decision making, etc. Now, what is this cost accountancy? See, you can say cost accountancy is the summary of everything. So when you apply costing, cost accounting, everything to do the overall cost accountancy, that is what is the meaning of cost accountancy. So it is defined as the application of costing, cost accounting, principles, methods, techniques to the science, art, and practice of cost control and ascertaining profitability. Then such a work is called as cost accounting. So when you do everything, in short, for running the overall business, you apply all these concepts into one. That is what is cost accountancy, right? Cost management, you can understand. What are the objects? I explained there are 5 major objects. One is finding out cost. Second is fixing your price. Cost control, cost reduction, also finding out profitability of each product, and decision making, right? Then you have definitions of cost control, cost reduction, difference between cost control and cost reduction. So basically, control is maintaining the cost at the present level. So let us say presently I'm manufacturing this pen for 100 rupees. I will take all efforts to ensure that my cost does not increase 100. I maintain it at 100. That is cost control. Now, because of increased competition, because of new cheaper products coming into the market, now I have the role of reducing this 100 to 90. So when I bring down the cost from the present level, that is cost reduction. Now, what is the overall scope of cost accounting? So first you do costing, and on the basis of costing, you do cost accounting, that is reporting, etc. Then we carry out different types of analysis. We do comparisons. All this is done to help us in doing controlling and reduction. And then we prepare all the types of reports. And finally, wherever cost accounting is compulsory to us, like you know that for certain companies, certain accountings are made compulsory by the company law. Similarly, under different acts, certain accountings are made compulsory. So wherever cost accounting is made compulsory, you have to do the statutory compliance. Fine. And then we have some more theoretical points like what is the interconnection? Now, this is very interesting. Generally, when we talk about management, it is supposedly a altogether different domain. Like we have the MBA course exclusively dealing with management subject. Now, an interesting question that came to me when I read this subject for the first time in my course or career is what is management doing in this subject of cost? Or how is cost and management put together at one place? The answer is you will just you have just seen in management the three basic functions are planning, controlling, decision making. Now, if you go deeper into that, you will realize that all these three functions, planning, controlling, decision making, has a very important role of costing involved. Because whenever you are doing planning, you require cost details. Whenever you are doing decision making, many of your decisions are based on cost and profits. And whenever you are doing controlling, what majorly you want to control in your business majorly is the cost. So somewhere there is a connection between your costing, cost accounting, and the management. Hence, wherever these are interlinked, like in planning, in controlling, in decision making, we are going to study here. So in this subject of cost and management accounting, we are going to study management accounting with perspective of cost. So wherever the planning, controlling, decision making relating to cost is involved, that is what is part of your syllabus here. So that is how these subjects are interlinked. Yes, Aishwarya.
Good morning, sir.
Very good morning, Beta. Please tell me.
Sir, I have one doubt in
Yeah,
semi-variable.
please tell me.
In my state, the electricity bill will come zero because
Hmm.
of the 200 unit free.
Hmm.
Who are using below 200 unit, they will get zero rupees of bill.
Okay.
Then how will
Fine.
the cost and semi-variable take place, and also the government how manage the bills and all these things?
Then you see, first, are you thinking from government side or are you thinking from your side? That is, if you are doing some manufacturing, some goods or providing some
I'm
service. You
thinking in government side, sir.
see, firstly, understand this. When we are talking about government and when government is giving such a scheme like giving some units free, that becomes altogether different thing because it becomes a what you can say an incentive type of a scheme which is given by a particular state's government, like it is given in many states. Maybe different units are given, but it is given by many states. So there you cannot directly imply these costing principles because over there, even though they are incurring a cost, but since they have to do it for the benefit of the society and public, they are giving it free. So if they are giving it free, does not mean that they are not having costs. They are having costs, but that becomes part of their what you can say the measures that they are doing for the public welfare. So it will become a cost of their public welfare. So there you are doing costing, but that costing is not getting converted into a price because you want to give it free. So they do it as a welfare measure. And whenever it is like a charity, so wherever there is a charity, there is a welfare, then obviously you don't do pricing. Yes, you would be doing costing for other reasons like cost control, cost reduction. See, they are not charging any price from you, but then in fact, for them, it becomes even more important to do cost control. Otherwise, the government expenses will rise abnormally. So where they are giving something free for public welfare, they are using costing again, one for determining the cost, may not be fixing price because they want to give it free, but at the same time, also equally focusing on the cost control, cost reduction. Correct? So that is how they are using this costing. So students, so these are the different theoretical parts, and we covered all the conceptual points, or you can say majority of them, which is relevant for your further subjects understanding. Now, as we proceed in this subject, slowly and steadily, you will go to the more technical working part of this subject. Yes, Rosie, please go ahead, beta.
Sir, can you re-explain operational cost?
What is operational? Beta,
Yes.
operational is a generic word. See, when you are running a business, whatever you incur for running your business, like you have to pay salary, you have to pay electricity bill. These are necessary to make your business run. So when you are running a business, that is what is called as operational cost. So day-to-day expenses for running the business.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So students, that is all from my side in first chapter. We shall be connecting again very soon for the other chapters. Wasim beta, thank you very much for your compliment. You gave me the second compliment besides others also. So thank you very much. So thank you all students. I hope I could give you an overall perspective of this subject, which I'm sure will go a long way. Also, let me tell you at BOS, it is our earnest endeavor. We all tried very hard to bring the subjects to you in such a format which are not explained anywhere else, so that you actually understand the subjects from the core. And that is why I request everyone to be present in all subjects live, because when you are present live, it will add more value. Yes, definitely you have recordings for all these subjects always available, but since these are new subjects in your career, in your life, please attend them on daily basis, on live basis. Yes, Hina, Aishwarya.
Hello. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Hina beta.
Sir, I just had one doubt that by what time we'll complete our entire syllabus of
Beta, that
costing?
schedule you'll get from BOS beta. That scheduling part is already done, so you'll get it from there beta.
Still, any tentative date like we'll complete by till October,
Now,
November, or
I'm
anything?
not having the full schedule, but otherwise I would have mentioned to you. I'm not having the full schedule, but I'll request the technical team. If it is hosted somewhere else, they will inform you, or you will get the total details. Better. We already have planned for the entire batch along with the revision and everything, but I do not have the total schedule. Better. Fine.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, better.
Good
Yes.
morning, sir.
Good morning, better. Tell me.
Sir, about the abnormal loss, where we have to enter it, sir?
Sorry. Abnormal loss.
Abnormal loss, where we have to enter the value, sir?
Ha. So a very important question ki sir, normal loss will add in cost but abnormal loss will not add in cost. Then the question comes, where will this abnormal loss go? Answer is beta, it is then directly posted in your profit and loss account. See, one is either it is added in cost. Once it is added in cost, it becomes price and you recover it from your customer. But where it is not added in cost, like this abnormal loss, we directly put it in P&L, so it becomes my loss because I have to suffer it. I cannot recover it from customer. Sir, fine.
Okay, sir, we are directly reducing from our profit, like that, sir.
Sorry.
We are directly reducing from our profit, like,
No, I did not get your point, beta.
sir, we are directly reducing it from our profit because it is our loss.
Yes. So since it is your loss, because as I said, na, it is something which is not part of this product or service, so you cannot recover it from your customer. So you bear the loss.
Okay, sir, thank you, sir.
Yes. Somebody is asking, sir, do we have to read chapter one? Yes, you should read chapter one, and definitely it will help. You can ask me the questions for other remaining, which is very pure theory. I did not cover it. So please read it. And yes, thank you very much for all your best compliments that you are giving. It is really valuable for me. And at BOS, we try very hard that we bring to you some very innovative and most important, the most appropriate way of bringing the subject to you all. So please do attend regularly. Please attend live. And wherever you have your other friends, please tell them, because as you all know, we are doing this free of cost for all our students. So please make the best use of it and also help your other friends join it. Yes, thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you for all your best compliments. Thank you. Let us catch soon. Yes, Medha, you should make notes. You can make notes even in live session or afterwards. You can go through the recorded sessions. Our next topic would be material costs. So you all who want to do the self-help approach may start even reading the second chapter. Yes, Kinari, please, you may ask. Kinari, ask your doubt, beta. Also, I'll request everyone to join the WhatsApp chat group. It has been posted by Nisarg ji in the chat. So please do join. It will help you a lot where all your answers or queries would be resolved. Yes, Kinari.
Sir,
Yes, beta.
sir, the chapter was easy in understanding today, but it seems very tricky when you see the material. So how are we
Beta, it
supposed
has
to
to
make
be.
the notes?
See, don't worry. Right now, I'll request that maybe you may not go for the entire understanding because see, understand this. We have to design the modules in such a fashion that it covers everything. But when it comes to actually giving it to students, we have to go step by step. If I try to give everything what is written there, it may not be absorbed by you. So, as I said, over a period of further 2-3 sessions, you will start understanding many of these things. So, right now, don't make the hurry in making notes. Let sessions pass on because this first chapter is only for theory. My purpose was to give you the actual real life experience. So that is why I did not go by theory. Otherwise, nothing would have made much sense. So don't worry. Right now, at least for chapter one, don't start preparing notes. Normally, when I used to study, I used to prepare notes for chapter one at the end because chapter one is actually summary of the entire subject, right? So you should start making notes from the next chapter. This chapter you can come back at the end when you are done with your entire subject. Then many of these concepts will actually make practical sense.
Okay, understood.
Right? So don't worry. For
Thank
this
you, sir.
chapter, don't make notes. My suggestion, do it at the end.
Okay, thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Same, beta. So thank you all students. It was really great. I also enjoyed the session equally as you all did. And thank you very much. Let us be in touch. We will connect again for further classes. Yes, but I'll try to upload this, whatever I have written. I'll upload it so that if it makes sense to you all, because I've written many things at different places, but definitely I'll upload this. Thank you.